Burning Question, presented by Nissan Magnite, powered by Amrita University.
Kashmiri Pandit Rahul Bhat shot dead by terrorists in Jammu and Kashmir's Budgam. India demands justice for Rahul. Rahul Bhat, a clerk killed in Budgam terror attack for working in the Revenue Department on Prime Minister's package for Pandits and minorities. 32 years old, Kashmiri Pandit genocide, an exodus, another Kashmiri Pandit killed by Lashkar and Jaish jihadi terrorists. Kashmiri Pandit shot dead, but Omar Abdullah and Mehbooba continues to maintain silence. India demands answers. Shocking Congress reaction to Pandit murder, says government failed to protect people, demands MHA to reprimand local administration. It's a big win for the Hindu petitioners. Court says the survey will continue at the Gyanvapi mosque. The basement shall be unlocked. Uttar Pradesh mandates national anthem in madrasas, says national anthem must before classes. And the fire which has been burning, viewers, the fire which has been burning in every Indian's heart. That's the topic today on Burning Question. A 33-year-old Kashmiri Pandit Rahul Bhat was shot dead in broad daylight by terrorists, by these cowards in Jammu and Kashmir's Budgam. Rahul Bhat was the 14th to be shot by these cowards, by these terrorists, after the abrogation of Article 370s. These terrorists opened fire at him. Rahul was assigned in the Revenue Department to work on what? Can you imagine? The Prime Minister's package for minorities and Kashmiri Pandits. And that's the reason why these cowards shot him down. Because they do not want the whole process to begin again. That's the topic of the debate on Burning Question again. But first, this report.
A minority community member, a government employee, a Kashmiri Pandit. At 4:42 p.m., Rahul Bhat was shot dead in broad daylight in Budgam's Chadura.
Rahul Bhat, a Kashmiri Pandit hailing from Birwa of Budgam and posted here at Tehsil office of Chadura, was targeted in a broad daylight by the terrorists. He was shot from a close range. Rahul received some 4 gunshot wounds, and from here he was shifted to Sub-District Hospital Budgam.
Protests erupted shortly after as anger began to mount over the killing of the Kashmiri Pandit.
एक होनहार नौजवान ऑफिसर श्रीमान राहुल भट्ट साहब की जो निर्मम हत्या की गई है, ये अक्षम्य अपराध इन पाकिस्तान के कायर आतंकवादियों ने कश्मीर घाटी में किया है। इस अक्षम्य अपराध की इन कायर पाकिस्तानी आतंकवादियों को भारी कीमत चुकानी पड़ेगी।
Rahul Bhat, a Kashmiri Pandit, was working in the Revenue Department on the Prime Minister's package for minorities and Pandits. He was working for the nation. But these credentials are perhaps not enough for the Muftis and the Abdullahs to cry intolerance.
She thinks she's so worried about Sri Lanka. She says India will become Sri Lanka. Well, what have you made of things that you are nothing but a terrorist supporter sympathizer? You're a pro-Pak terrorist supporter sympathizer, hypocrite of the highest order. Mehbooba Mufti, the nation wants to know. You're worried about Sri Lanka. What are you doing? Why are you supporting the terrorists who kill Kashmiri Pandit?
What is more shocking is the Congress and AIMIM's response to the biggest Hindu-phobic killing.
Killings have to be condemned, whether he's a Kashmiri Pandit or not, but in this particular case, it has to be openly condemned. And I want to know from the Modi government, what have you done over there to protect them? Isn't it the failure of that government?
राहुल भट्ट की जिस तरह से गोली मारकर हत्या कर दी है, हम उसकी भरसक निंदा करते हैं और ये सवालिया निशान भी है स्थानीय प्रशासन और गृह मंत्रालय पर कि वह पूरी तरह से असफल साबित हुआ है ऐसे लोगों को सुरक्षा देने में।
Search operations are underway.
SOG group of Badgam police carrying the thorough search here as well, because again this is the back entry of the Tehsil office. They are actually investigating and evaluate what went wrong and how they managed to come in. So the Kashmir police chief maintaining that whosoever is behind the killing of Rahul Pandit will not be spared.
32 years after the Kashmiri Pandit genocide and exodus, it is time to go all out against Hinduphobia. But will dynasty parties of Jammu and Kashmir speak up now? That is the burning question.
So you heard, Mehbooba Mufti, the former Chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir, is more worried about Sri Lanka. I'm joined by senior BJP leader and the national spokesperson, Sardar R.P. Singh. I have with me Aarti Tikku Singh, foreign and strategic affairs expert, founder and editor of The New Indian. And I have with me Sanam Shah, political analyst, leads towards the Congress, and Majid Haidari, journalist, joining in me from Srinagar. But first I'm coming to you, Zeenat. So that's how I'm first going to Zeenat. Zeenat, 14th Kashmiri, 14th killing post the abrogation of Article 370. Zeenat, over to you.
See, we need to evaluate that what's going on in the Kashmir Valley, particularly where the things are going wrong. See, if we take the statement of the Kashmir police chief, he's very right in saying that you cannot protect anybody when it comes to the people working in government offices and private offices.
Zeenat, what's happening behind you?
Or are working at
Zeenat, what's happening behind
business.
you?
So it is really difficult.
Zeenat, what's happening behind you?
See, I'll show you the visuals of the protest of the Kashmiri Pandits. One can see the Kashmiri Pandits sitting here on the roadside. This is just outside the migrant camp of Sheikhpura, where the Pandit colony is, and they are the residents of that very colony. They are here sitting on the roadside and demanding justice, and also demanding that the LG should pay visit to them, and particularly they are asking for the divisional commissioner of Kashmir and DC of Badgam. The demand of Kashmiri Pandit is that none of the officer from the administration so far has visited to them. They have not paid any condolence, any sympathy. Both men and women are here and they are protesting. They are demanding justice and also demanding that the LG administration should pay visit to these Kashmiri Pandits. Although
Absolutely, Zeenat, I'm just going to come back to you. And on the other window, viewers, a very, very disturbed family. My colleague Gursimran is there. Gursimran, another brutal killing in broad daylight, Gursimran. These cowards, they need to be dealt with. Gursimran, over to you.
Indeed, and the family, yes, the family is in grief. She's the mother of Rahul Bhat, the Revenue Department employee who was shot down by the terrorist in broad daylight. The family is not in a position to even utter a single word. They are in grief. They don't know what has happened to them. They don't know why this sky has fallen to them, because it was 2 days earlier that Rahul was
Shah,
here.
Majid
He was
Haidari.
with his family. He was sharing all the moments of the joy.
Can you hear the cries of the families? Aarti Tikku Singh, Sardar R.P. Singh. Aarti, coming to you first.
Well, you know,
These cowards, they deliberately targeted.
Rahul Bhat was my brother's friend. So it's a personal loss, it's a personal grief here, apart from the community's grief. But I want to ask two questions today. One is to the left liberal Hindus, whose hearts cry out, whose hearts bleed when a Muslim is killed, when a non-Kashmiri Pandit Hindu is killed in Kashmir, their hearts bleed. But they invariably, and in fact almost every time when a Kashmiri Pandit is selectively targeted and killed, slaughtered like a lamb in Kashmir, they remain quiet. They keep justifying this whole nonsense, this whole Islamic jihad in one or the other way by either remaining silent or by supporting those who created this conflict industry in Kashmir. The mainstream political parties.
Why Majid Haidari? Why Majid Haidari? Sardar Sahab, I'm coming to you after this. Majid Haidari, Aarti is not wrong. Can't you hear these cries, Majid Haidari? Rahul was deliberately targeted. He was targeted because he was working for the rehabilitation process of the Kashmiri Pandits in the Prime Minister's scheme. Majid and Sardar RP Singh. Please do, Majid.
We are in a state of collective mourning. And I don't want to speak over anybody when we are in a state of collective mourning. Let's believe in listening to each other first. You rightly said it's the 14th killing of a Kashmiri Pandit in the last 1 year. But it is the first such killing where a Kashmiri Pandit has been killed right inside his government office. It is the 5th target killing in Badgam in last 2 months. Just recently, when Honorable Prime Minister visited Jammu, a blast occurred in same Samba area on the same very day, mysterious blast. And your channel didn't highlight that issue. Why? Because it was a policing failure. First of all, we want to make accountable the Jammu and Kashmir police and Honorable LG. Where is LG this time? Why is he not come out for the rescue of Pandits?
Mr. Haidari, a word for the terrorists.
The heads must roll,
sir. Can you speak a word against those terrorists?
To fight with you.
Will you speak? Okay, sir, you can be in a state of mourning. You can blast the government, you can blast the administration, but not a word against the terrorists, not the word against people who have been sent across from across the border, not a word. Not a word for Amarullah, Member Mufti for not condemning this. Not a word. Not a word.
Safety and security
not a word.
People.
Because Kashmiri Pandits are not your brothers. Kashmiri Pandits are not your brothers. Not a word. That's the problem. We are saying
why is your government failing to safeguard their lives? It is failure of your government.
Not a word by Mufti. Not a word by Amarullah. Not a word by Haidari, Majid Haidari. Not a word. Condemning.
No. Sardar RP Singh. Sardar RP Singh. Sardar RP Singh. Mehbooba Mufti and Aarti, you need to listen to this. Aarti, you need to listen to this. Sardar RP Singh. Mehbooba Mufti, the former Chief Minister of the same state of Jammu and Kashmir, is more worried about the Sri Lanka crisis. She will comment on the Sri Lankan crisis. Sardar RP Singh. But will not
Mufti is not running
comment.
The government.
Will not take on these cowards of these terrorists.
Because they see everything with the specs of religion. They see everything through the specs of religion. They can only see through Hindu and Muslim. The statement was a statement which was a real attack saying that, will we facing something like Sri Lanka?
Sardar Sahab, let him counter. Sardar Sahab,
thank you.
Yeah. Sanam Shah. Sanam and Aarti. Sanam and Aarti. Yeah.
सर कोई भी शख्स के आपके काबिल नहीं मिलता, किसी से दिल नहीं मिलता, किसी से जिल्द नहीं मिलता। हवादत दौर है रियासत जम्मू कश्मीर का, यहाँ लाशें तो मिलती हैं पर कातिल नहीं मिलता। सर, I am telling you, बीजेपी
सनम डायलॉग अच्छा है, सनम डायलॉग अच्छा है, बट आरती ने अभी बताया, आरती जस्ट सेड,
सर देखें सुने मेरी बात,
शी न्यू राहुल भट्ट,
यहाँ लाशें मिलती हैं पर
बोलिए, स्पीक ऑन, कैरी ऑन,
सुन नहीं रहे, मेरी बात सुने आप। सर मैं सिर्फ आपसे एक बात पूछना चाहता हूँ आपके चैनल के माध्यम से, क्योंकि देश के प्रधानमंत्री रिपब्लिक चैनल देखते हैं और आपका शो देखते हैं। सर बीजेपी ने कहा था हम 370 रुपए से हटाकर हम कश्मीर में दूध की नहरें बहाएंगे, 370 के बाद कश्मीर में अमन होगा। मैं आज इस चीज को कंडेम करता हूं। सर मेरे अंदर से जज्बात बोलते हैं ये राहुल भट्ट का कत्ल नहीं हुआ, ये सनम शाह का कत्ल हुआ है, पर मेरी उम्र 27 साल है, मैं 27 साल से सुनता आ रहा हूं कि नामालूम बंदूकबाजों ने गोली मार दी है। सर मैं पूछना चाहता हूं इस मालूम का पता कब चलेगा? सर रही बात, दूसरी बात मैं कहना चाहता हूं,
Aarti Tikku is replying to you. Aarti Tikku is replying to you. Sanam, अब सुनिए. Sanam, now you need to listen to the other side. Sanam, calm down. Sanam, calm down. Aarti.
Aishwarya, Sanam or Majid Haidari or any of these people of their generation, anyone who is not out there on the streets along with Kashmiri Pandits condemning Pakistan. Anyone who is not holding Pakistan accountable
But
for
why,
this,
Aarti?
anyone who is not saying that this is Islamic Jihad, they are culpable. They are part of the problem. Anyone who is justifying this Islamic Jihad, anyone who is trying to shield
Madam, please tell me, Madam, what do you mean by saying jihad? Tell me, what is jihad? Tell me, no. Tell me in detail, what is jihad? You know jihad? What is jihad? Please tell me in detail. Tell me in detail, what is jihad? Madam, tell me, no. What is jihad? What is jihad?
On their hands.
Tell me.
Listen. Majid, relax. Majid, Aarti has made a point, but Majid Hedri, can you tell me?
No, I want to respond.
Mehbooba is more worried about Sri Lanka. Mehbooba Mufti is more worried about Sri Lanka. But she cannot condemn.
Mehbooba Mufti or Umar Abdullah
She cannot condemn this cowardly act, Majid Hedri.
It is Manoj Sinhaji's administration which has terribly failed. You don't have competent officers in place at moment
Sardar
in
RP Singh will answer.
police, and it is for New Delhi to look at
Sardar
RP Singh answer.
आप एक बात तो कहिए, पाकिस्तान मुर्दाबाद बोलिए, आतंकवादियों ने जो किया गलत किया, एक बार तो बोलिए. Say at least one.
Can you do that, Majid? Majid, can you do that?
Condemn terrorists once.
No, I want peace and prosperity in Jammu and Kashmir.
What Kashmiri terrorists?
See, the Raj Bhavan is not compatible with Modi's vision on Jammu and Kashmir. It's as simple as that, sir.
Repeat after me. What Islamist terrorists has done in Islam.
I stand with you guys on the issue, but I am saying that the administration in Jammu and Kashmir is not compatible with the vision of Modi ji and Amit Shah ji. It's as simple as that. You go for a heads-must roll now.
What Kashmiri jihadi terrorists has done in Islam. What Islamic jihadist terrorists has done in Islam.
What kind of government is
Say that.
We want a government which is compatible with Modi ji's vision and Amit Shah ji's
Listen.
vision. This are
Last 10 seconds to Aarti. Last 10 seconds to Aarti. Listen, this is a very, very short segment. I need to go to Aarti. Aarti, you said you knew Rahul Bhat. But I am saying, Aarti, it's the 14th. The 14th Kashmiri Pandit being killed deliberately by these cowards after the abrogation of Article 370. And none of these political leaders of Kashmir come out, Aarti. Last 10 seconds, I have very less time. Aarti.
Yeah, Aishwarya, this is the 14th Kashmiri Pandit killing since the nullification of Article 370. And that goes to show that Islamist mercenaries and Pakistan do not want Kashmiri Pandits returning and rehabilitating in Kashmir. This also goes to prove that they are
Aarti, but they will fail. Let me tell you, Majid Hedri, Sanam Shah, Aarti, they may feel, Sardar RP Singh, they may feel that they will succeed, but they will not. The Kashmiri Pandits will and should go back. Will and should go back. I have very less time. Thank you for all of you for joining for this very, very short debate on this very burning question. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining on this debate.